So today's episode, we were going to talk about sex books.
Sex books?
Yeah, sex books, right? I mean,
I thought we were supposed to be talking...
I should say, I think the closest thing I've ever come to reading a sex book is actually 50 Shades of Grey, which was so bad that I immediately had to read the sequel, and which was infinitely worse, so much so that I even had to read the sequel after that. Terrible. One was worse than the next.
But have you seen the movies?
I can't bring myself to. Have you?
Of course I have. Every single one, at least twice.
Oh, but we'll get to that later, because actually that's a great segue into our next Minisode.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Good
Jamie
point.
Dornan. Say no more. Yeah, sex books, because today, as you were patiently tutoring Beau, the angel,
Not
the
very
6-year-old,
patiently.
tutoring the angel Beau, 6 years old, and just a paragon of excellent behaviour and obedience.
Enthusiasm for learning.
Oh, enthusiasm for learning, yes, like a sponge. He was sponging up unsafe and safe touching, right? And he came out to demonstrate to me what safe and unsafe touching is by standing stock still and then doing absolutely nothing to prevent me from attempting to demonstrate unsafe touching from the perspective of a stranger in the road. If I was a stranger in the road, Beau, and I did this to you, what would it be? Probably unsafe, but very tickly. Okay, I think the lessons went somewhat over his head, in fairness.
I feel so sorry for teachers. That, I wonder if Beau's tomorrow going to be like, my mom tried to practice unsafe touching with me, and the teacher's
my God.
That's not what we meant.
Well, I mean, I have to practice her. Sure, Dawn. Well, I was saying I had to reassure Nash, who's 9, the other day, all about how, the most dangerous things in general, the stranger danger is probably, such a remote danger compared to people you know what I mean? It's like any kind of domestic abuse. It's like you're more likely to be abused or attacked or raped or any of these things by people you know. And I was trying to say to him, don't be afraid to tell me if anybody ever does something to you that makes you feel uncomfortable, etc., etc. Well, what if an intruder comes? He's so much more afraid of the unknown, the bogeyman. And I said, I really don't think that I was ever really afraid of this. And we grew up in front of a cemetery, so you'd think we would have been more afraid. And people went up and down at night on their nightly trysts to the cemetery, but I was never really afraid of that. Don goes, oh my God, my mom brought me up on an entire, back catalogue of every child who was ever abducted, murdered, whatever. Sorry, there probably needs to be a trigger warning on this. It's not supposed to be. And he goes, and she had me, she goes, she used to train us in the kitchen. If anybody comes close to you, poke them in the eyes, kick them in the nuts. They had all their massive karate nut kicks all practiced. They had to do them on demand. If she switched into stranger danger mode.
Whereas I always just thought if anything like that happened, the best thing to do would just be to be a good runner. So I was always I'm going to be fucked.
Oh my God, a good runner.
For the life of me.
Well, a good runner, I'm absolutely dead. Dawn says that the best thing to do would be to jump on somebody's ears. Not jump on them, but to grab their ears and just pull down, because apparently it takes very little strength to just actually
yank somebody's ear off.
Yeah, to rip people's ears off.
I think I've heard Dawn say that before, which also makes me think Dawn is a weirdo.
How
many times does he talk about that pulling off someone's ears?
I mean, quite frequently.
Sorry. Okay, listen.
Oh, yes, back to the point.
Let's get back to the point. You and your sex book.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about it.
So then it reminded me, I was thinking about how did I learn about, unsafe and safe touching? It certainly was not in school, right? That was not a thing of the 90s, 80s. 90s, listen to me, I was so optimistic. That was not a thing of the 80s.
Well,
and I remember
you were in secondary school. You were in secondary school in the 90s.
Yeah, but I mean,
You're
it's a bit
right.
late at that point if you don't know about unsafe touching, right? Both 6.
Yeah, fair.
So anyway, Mom, I remember, brought me silently, I'd like to say silently, not a word was spoken, eye contact didn't happen for this entire trip. She lurried me into the car and drove to Norsnery Bookshoppe Lower. And in we went, and she went up, to the bookshelf, purposefully removed one book from a carefully selected spine, removed the book, held my hand again, still no eye contact. I was like, what's happening? Am I being given away? Brought up to the cash register, purchased the book, back to the car, nothing said. I'm in the back, she's in the front, we're driving home. I opened this book. It was all about sex.
Our bodies, ourselves, right?
Yes, like as in like your type of sex, like, you know, like medicinal sex, like factual sex.
Reproduction is the word you're looking for.
Yes, thank you, Rosemary. Yes,
medicinal sex,
technical sex.
Medicinal sex. Do not become any kind of therapist. You know what you need now? Medicinal sex. You'd be all better.
Sex is a medicine, Rosemary, allegedly. Listen, moving on. So anyway, I brought that book home and I read it backwards and forwards. And you know, like she bought it for me and she handed it to me and I still hid it under my mattress. I was so mortified. I think we never talked about it. Every single night I ripped it out and read it back to front. Ridiculous, like. Maybe this is where my just shame about medicinal sex comes from.
Medicinal sex. I'm now feeling really sorry for Mom because I'm like, well, like first I was feeling highly indignant because I was like, I didn't get a sex book. And then I was like, God, poor Mom. I'm sure I like A, had snuck several looks at your sex book.
B, by about the age of sex 8. By about the age of 11.
Okay. I had not, and that's not that hilarious.
No. It's not hilarious. Sorry. Only because you're my sister. It's not funny at all. Not funny at all. Sorry. God.
So I think probably by the age of 8, I'd read your copy of Our Bodies Ourselves about 10 times, like surreptitiously. And then I was always trying to get a look at that, you know, Position of the Fortnight and More magazine. I was obsessed with that.
God, you didn't need My Bodies Ourselves. You were like busy educating yourself from Cosmo and More. I don't know what. I don't think I even saw those magazines till you brought them home. I was at home still like trying to figure out what would tame these frizzy.
You were at home like
halos.
gluing cushions to the chairs in your doll's house. While I was like, let me out into the world.
I know you were. So anyway, what other books did you read at the time? So I read that and I was like, that was probably an amazing book, I thought. Very educational for sure. But the other book you were mentioning was Judy Blume, right? She's a classic.
Oh my God, Judy Blume Forever. That's how I learned about sex. Did you read Judy Blume's Forever?
I mean, yes.
Do you remember it's like all about this girl who basically has sex for the first time with a boy who calls his penis Ralph?
Oh, I don't think I read that.
Do you remember this?
No.
Oh my God. Ralph, of all names. Like, it wasn't even the concept of naming the penis that I had an issue with, but Ralph.
Rosemary, that's really mean to people who are called Ralph.
Listen, I'm sure there are plenty of sexy Ralphs out there, but I just like, it kind of comes out as well like a cough, like Gollum, like Ralph. You know what I mean? You're joking on something. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I saying this.
My
anyway,
God.
I was obsessed with Judy Blume Forever.
In the wrong direction, yeah.
I was obsessed with that.
I did love Judy Blume.
I also loved, what was the other one? Was it Deanie, where she had to get a back brace?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I don't know what it was called, but I read that one.
And I really wanted to get a back brace for years.
Forever.
So
Wasn't that
that's
Forever?
what would make me beautiful.
No,
Forever. Forever was the sex one.
Oh, sorry. What
Ralph.
was the one that she wrote like a couple of years ago? I bought that and read it too.
Oh, I can't remember.
Well, I obviously can't either, but I read it as well. The other thing I loved was Robert Cormier, Fade. That was amazing. Now, you probably would have loved
really
that
good.
because there was an incredibly grotesque cunnilingual scene. And
I don't
right up
remember
your
that at
alleyway.
all.
Right up your alleyway. And it was always like...
Excuse me.
Yes.
My alleyway is not the topic of this.
Well... It was about, there was a thing about like, if Nash asked me the other day if I had superpowers, what would they be? And he's like, I'd love to be invisible. And I always thought I'd love to be invisible until I read that book. And I was like, oh my God, I do not want to be invisible. Like, I do not want to be invisible. Because like, you think it's going to be brilliant, but then, it makes it sound terrible. But it's amazing because it's such a flip side of like what you think is going to be amazing.
What you think, yeah. I love that book as well. I really loved a book called Children of the Dust that I think was written in the 80s. It's about this girl who basically gets, there's a nuclear holocaust. There are nuclear bombs dropped all over the UK and she and her family have to figure out how to survive through it. And then it kind of goes on to like the post-nuclear world and people start mutating and stuff. I really, really loved that.
Sounds extremely
Loved
cheerful.
that.
But about as cheerful as your stint with every single history book about the Holocaust. I mean, no, actually very educational, but rather somber reading.
Oh, listen, we also don't have to give me too much credit because I know nothing about the Holocaust. Like, I have read, I'd say, approximately 40 non-fiction books about concentration camps, about the Holocaust, I've read the Diary of Anne Frank, and then I've read books about the Diary of Anne Frank. I could tell you nothing now.
Well, at least you could tell me that it happened, which is more than a large percentage of
Scary but true.
The population.
I was absolutely obsessed with Holocaust books, and I also for a short period became obsessed with going to a kibbutz because of a book I read that I now cannot remember the name of. Maybe it was called The Other Side of the River or something. What was it called?
I read that book. Yeah, it was something. Oh yeah, I was about to say his name was something like Ismail or Isaac or something. Of course it was. What was it? Yeah, I was like, this sounds amazing. But you know what? I thought the same thing about kibbutzes that I thought about American summer camps. So let me tell you,
I thought the same thing about
kibbutzes
either. That I thought about the Gaeltacht, and I was also wrong.
Well, I wouldn't have liked them.
No. There was far too much work going on.
There was too much communal activity going on. I realised I don't actually like being in close proximity with people that I don't like, surprisingly enough.
I don't like being in particularly close proximity with people I do like for long periods of time either.
Well, I was just thinking
like being on my own.
When this whole pandemic started, I was like, when am I going to get to go away with Dawn? When am I going to go and be able to have a weekend away? Now I'm like, when can I get away from everybody in this house? When can I go away by myself?
Yeah.
So another book I loved was Silence of the Lambs, right? Amazing.
I don't think I've ever read that.
Super creepy, terrifying. I read it when we were down in Carrickfinn one year when we were on holidays, and we were driving around, I don't know, visiting something, and I was reading in the back of the car. Terrifying. And then we all got home. Everybody bailed out of the car.
Hang on. Can you read in the back of the car? Do you not get sick?
No, I don't. Grand. Totally read in the back of the car. Like prime reading time. I can also sleep anywhere now. I used to be able to sleep nowhere. I used to be extremely precious about the environment in which I could sleep. Now I can sleep literally on, I don't want to get too rude, don't want to get too gross here, but I could sleep anywhere, basically, on a pile of dirty nappies. I could sleep anywhere.
My friend Emma fell asleep standing up at a Verve gig once.
Doesn't say a lot about the music. Well, Anyway, no, I didn't fall asleep. So I was reading the book and everybody went inside, and I think I just didn't notice that they all went in. Then it got dark and I really was still reading, and then I looked up and I was absolutely terrified. I had to put down all the locks, wait for somebody to come and get me because I was so terrified that some serial killer was going to come and rip my face off.
Some serial killer. So hang on, while you were in the car waiting to be rescued, did it occur to you at any point to beep the horn?
I'd have to assume it wasn't working. To know. No, I don't think so. Somebody came out to get me eventually. They obviously needed something out of the car.
I would assume nothing. I would hope nobody who listens to this podcast is like in the market to kidnap a 40-something woman, because you clearly are not good at getting yourself out of these situations. I
climbed out of that train. Do you remember that high train window?
You climbed out of the train window. You couldn't think to call 999 when you thought you were kidnapped by Santa Claus.
Excuse me, I was in Italy. I don't even think it's 999. I think it's some other number pattern. And I don't even think he had a phone.
Santa definitely had a landline, and I'd say 999 works in Italy. But
listen,
let's check.
What if I had gone up when Santa was behind me examining the ceramics? What if I had put my finger on the dialer on the ringer thing and then
Sorry, I did not know where your finger was going there.
Just move on. What other books, Rosemary? What other books? What horror books have you read? Oh, did you ever read that one in the attic, Flowers in the Attic? You'd love that.
I don't think so. I read The Yellow Wallpaper, I think, in college. There's loads of books that I read in college. I really enjoyed The Go-Between by J.P. Hartley, I think is who it's by. And there was another one that I really enjoyed that I think you read and you really enjoyed, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers.
I don't think I read. Oh, yeah, I did read that. It's very serious as well, though. I just read The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, and that was great as well. That was very good. About the two sisters.
Yeah. And I really liked that as well. That only came out this year, didn't it?
Yeah, that was very good.
I'm currently trying to read the collected works of P.G. Wodehouse, and also another...
Oh, yes, you are! And I actually have a beautiful... For my birthday, I got a full set of P.G. Wodehouse, vintage P.G. Wodehouse novels from my beloved children. For being
so
such an
nice.
expert, for doing such good parenting, they gifted me all these books.
They obviously know exactly how to get away with things because you're just like Dad. When you're reading a book, I'd say they can do anything.
Absolutely not. I'm an extremely excellent parent. I'm extremely good.
You and Philip McCabe, like your kids could literally be snorting lines of coke off the wooden floors while you're reading and you would not notice.
Absolutely not. Well, I tell you, like, I've been trying to convince Nash recently to read Judy Blume. I've been trying to get him to actually read Judy Blume. And I'm like, I've been saying to him, like, this is kind of inappropriate. I probably shouldn't approve of this, but I've been watching Awkward with him too. That's hilarious. But I'm like, I'm just trying to get him to read anything so we can talk about it. And he has no interest. He won't read Roald Dahl. He won't read Harry Potter. I had to pay him $50 to get through stupid, what's it called? Percy Jackson.
Oh my God,
like,
Percy
I can't
Jackson.
even.
Beatrice, you're really like stellar parenting today. I was demonstrating unsafe touches on Bo. I was paying Nash to read a book. What about poor Nash? What about poor Nash when like Grandpa bought him the book that he loved most in the world as a boy, David and the Phonics, and Nash would not read it.
Oh God, I know. And Grandpa's like, "What did you enjoy it?" Nash and Nash's like, "Yeah, it was great, Grandpa." And I said, "What was it about?" "It was about a boy called David and a phonics, blah blah blah." And I said, "Did you read it?" I said to him afterwards, "Did you actually read it?" He goes, "I just read that on the back cover." What a brat!
Yeah, and he also went to the end and I think read like the last 10 pages.
Don does that. Don reads the first page and the last page and then the novel. What the hell?
I mean, this is completely off topic now, but I do remember reading an article about somebody who always read spoilers and liked to know exactly what was going to happen because she felt very anxious about being in suspense and like liked not to have that anxiety when consuming either films or books.
But like, isn't that life? Isn't that life? You don't know what's going to happen, right?
That is life.
Are you not used to that?
Books, you can actually control it.
But you're in a perpetual state of not knowing. That's actually now an American like resume line. It's probably in Ireland too. Comfortable navigating ambiguity. That's actually a skill you bring to the workplace.
You're an excellent navigator.
Correct.
On that very profound note, Beatrice, comfortable navigating ambiguity, I think we'll say goodbye because Liam, our producer, has started to get very strict about the length of our minisodes.
So, Rosemary, what book would you most recommend to young you?
Oh God, you know what I loved, although I do think it has been ruined by the movie. I loved Life of Pi by Jan Martel when I read that.
Oh, that
was
brilliant.
But I didn't like the movie.
Didn't see.
I thought the book was amazing.
I also thought the book was a movie. Great choice, Rosemary. Great choice.
How about you? What would you recommend?
I was just saying, great choice
self?
in agreeing with you.
Well, okay, but you have to pick one now. Other than Our Bodies, Ourselves.
Okay, that was great. I would recommend... I'm having a blank. I would recommend... Well, I did love Anna Green Gables, all of it. I read all of it about 97 million times. I loved it. I cried. I was constantly like just a quiver of emotion reading it.
Sorry, you also loved like all of the Bronte sisters and all of Jane Austen.
Oh my God, good one. All of Jane Austen.
Have we not mentioned them?
Oh my God, good one. Great. I loved all of those. Brilliant. Yeah.
You're so lucky I'm here. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will catch you on Tuesday for our 21st, happy 21st to us, birthday episode. Not really birthday, but our 21st episode.
And also our last episode for a little while before we take a break, right? We have one more episode and one more minisode, and then we shall be taking a little break.
Not a Christmas break, a pre-Christmas break. We will be back then, just before Christmas, to spread some festive cheer.
Precise.
To your ears.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this or any of our other episodes, please recommend us to your friends.
And if you did not enjoy this or any other episodes, tell no one. Bye.
Bye.
Not Without My Sister is produced by Liam Garrity. Sound and original music are by Don Kirkland. And our original illustration is by Lindsay Nielsen.
Not Without My Sister is a member of The Warren, the home of great Irish podcasts. You'll find more great shows at thewarren.ie.